I get it. You're staring at a list of AV receivers and wondering if you're about to throw away a good chunk of your budget on something that will sit half-used in the cabinet. You've probably watched a few videos, read a couple of spec sheets, and still feel that nagging doubt: will this actually work the way I need it to, or am I just chasing a name brand? That hesitation is real, especially when the money you spend on a receiver isn't just for the box itself but for the whole ecosystem of speakers, streaming services, and the occasional gaming night. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the Denon AVR X3900H, a 9.4 channel beast that promises powerful, room-filling sound, immersive Dolby Atmos, 8K video pass-through, and a built-in HEOS multi-room streaming hub. Those headlines sound impressive, but the true test is how it behaves once you've wired it up, popped a 4K Blu-ray in, and tried to get your phone to stream Spotify through the living room speakers. In the real world, you're juggling a mix of sources: Netflix, a game console, a vinyl player via the phono input, and maybe a smart TV that throws HDR content at you. If a receiver can handle that without you having to dive into menus every 5 minutes, you've got something that's actually useful. First off, the sound. The X3900H packs enough power to push a decent set of floor-standing speakers and still keep the bass tight. When I set up a typical 5.1.2 Atmos configuration, 2 upward-firing Atmos modules on top of the front left and right speakers, a center channel, and a subwoofer, the dialogue came through crystal clear and the height effects felt like they were really coming from above. Watching a space opera or a nature documentary, the whoosh of a comet or the rustle of leaves seemed to fill the room rather than bounce off the walls. That's the kind of immersion most people expect from Atmos, and the Denon delivers it without needing a separate processor. Now, the video side. The unit supports 4K at 120 Hz and 8K pass-through, which sounds like future-proofing. In practice, that means you can connect a next-gen console like the PS5 and still get the full HDR10+ and Dolby Vision signal to your TV. I ran a 4K HDR demo disc through the receiver, and the picture remained exactly as it was coming from the source: no extra processing lag, no color shift. If your TV is already 8K capable, the X3900H will simply pass the signal along, which is a nice safety net if you decide to upgrade your display later. Gaming performance is another area where the X3900H tries to stand out. The receiver offers low-latency HDMI switching and a game mode that reduces audio delay. When I paired it with a higher refresh rate monitor and a gaming PC, the input lag felt negligible, and the surround sound field added an extra layer of awareness in shooters' footsteps coming from behind, explosions echoing around you. For casual gamers who just want a better soundtrack, this is a solid bonus, though hardcore esports players who need ultra-low latency might still prefer a direct HDMI connection without any processing. One of the biggest draws is the built-in HEOS system, which turns the receiver into a whole-home audio hub. If you have Denon, Marantz, or other HEOS-compatible speakers in other rooms, you can push the same music to the kitchen, bedroom, or even outdoors with a few taps in the app. The interface is relatively straightforward. You can line up a Spotify playlist in the living room while a TV show streams in the den, each with independent volume control. That flexibility is a real time saver compared to juggling multiple Bluetooth dongles or separate streaming devices. However, the HEOS app does have a learning curve, and some users report occasional hiccups when switching between sources, especially if you have a complex network setup. Room tuning is built in with Denon's Odyssey Multiple EQ, which measures your room's acoustics using a supplied mic and adjusts the speaker output accordingly. When I ran the calibration, the system automatically set the crossover points, speaker distances, and EQ curves. The result was a smoother bass response and a more balanced soundstage without me having to manually tweak each setting. That's a huge convenience if you're not an audio nerd, though the calibration can take a while and may need a second pass if you rearrange furniture later. Now, let's get honest about the downsides. First, the user interface on the front panel feels a bit dated. The remote is packed with buttons, which can be overwhelming, and the on-screen menu is text-heavy, making it harder to navigate quickly if you're in the middle of a movie. The HDMI inputs are all standard, but there's no dedicated ARC label, just HDMI 2 that doubles as ARC, which can trip up first-time users. Another practical issue is the size. This is a fairly large unit, so you'll need a decent amount of cabinet space and proper ventilation. Otherwise you'll hear the fans kicking in after a few hours of high-volume playback. Pricing is another factor. The X3900H sits